All right, eating out in Paris is one of those things that was really intimidating for me before we actually came. I had a lot of questions, and since you are coming to Paris, I bet you have a lot of questions too. In this super simple guide, we're gonna just give you the basics so you can feel really confident when you are eating out in Paris. Hi, I'm Erica from Your Guides Abroad. Let's go get food. The first question, do you need a reservation when eating in Paris? And I would say, it's a good idea to have one. If you're going to a place that accepts reservations for lunch or for dinner, why not make one? It'll make your life easier, and then you won't be sad like us standing outside a tiny little delicious bistro in the rain for lunch, and they tell you they're full. That was really sad. Don't do that. Now, making reservations. You can make reservations usually online directly with the restaurant. If you can't make it directly with the restaurant, try the fork. And some small restaurants do only accept reservations over the phone. Now, do you need to speak French in order to call and make a reservation? Sometimes, you never know until you call and give it a shot. You can say bonjour, parlez-vous anglais? And if they say yes, great. You can easily make a reservation. If they say no, have Google Translate nearby and see if you can make it through it and get yourself a reservation at whatever charming bistro you are choosing. I mentioned reservations for lunch and dinner because those are the main meals that they eat out. Yes, you can get breakfast out, but it will be a little less available, let's say. If you're staying at a hotel, your hotel probably offers breakfast. There will probably be plenty of cafes, little brasseries that offer breakfast. It may not be the selection that you are used to. It may be just some croissants, some eggs, some bread, some coffee, delicious stuff. Plus, you can always find some places that maybe cater more towards tourists and offer a full breakfast. What if you don't love French food? Guess what? There are so many delicious restaurants in Paris. We travel with a picky eater and it has not been a big deal. You can find pretty much anything you want here in Paris. I do suggest trying a traditional French restaurant, but if you're not interested in that, go for Japanese, go for Italian, go for whatever makes you happy. Hit up a creperie and enjoy a nice savory crepe for dinner if you need to. How do you avoid picking a terrible touristy restaurant? A little bit of research goes a very long way. So I don't know, I love starting with the fork or with Google Maps. I love reading reviews, and you can find out a lot when you actually start going through the reviews and not just going by, the star number. You can pick a great place. There are so many wonderful places to eat in Paris. You don't really have to worry about that. And if you are using our Paris Wayfinder itinerary, don't worry, on our excursion days, we list out some of the best restaurants that you will find along the route, so you don't even have to think about where you're gonna eat that day. So check out our itineraries at yourguidesabroad.com/Paris. You'll definitely want those. Can you go to a restaurant just for drinks, or do you need to order food? Well, this is great. They will have some tables usually set with nothing, and that's for drinks only. And if you want food, there will usually be table settings on there. Generally, when we go into a restaurant, the waiter will ask if we're coming for drinks or for food, so they know which table to seat us at. Which is a great way to segue into, what do you do when you get to a restaurant? Do you just sit down at a table outside if you're looking for a table outside? I've seen mixed answers for this, so I'm just gonna tell you what we do. We usually walk in, we say bonjour, bonsoir, whatever, to the waiter or waitress so that they see us, and they will usually take care of letting us know where to sit, especially based on whether they have tables that are reserved or if we are coming just for drinks or drinks and food. I have seen some people just walk up and sit down, and then they need to later be moved once the waiter figured out what they were doing there and they happened to be sitting in the wrong seat. So I don't know. I always think just go in, say hello, see what they say, and then you can find a great seat. My number one biggest tip for all of this eating out in Paris is just be kind and everything will be fine, because we have found that, gosh, even traveling with kids, everyone has been so kind to us if we show them kindness. So that's really just go into it with a little humility and kindness, and it'll all work out well. You are going to have so many great meals in Paris. I hope you do. Make sure you head to yourguidesabroad.com/Paris, because we have a free one-day itinerary to take you on a great tour of Paris. And if you are coming for longer than one day, make sure you check out our Paris Wayfinder itinerary. We take you on excursion days all around the city so you can see the best sights. We worked with the local tour guide to create this. It has an audio guide download. It has links to take you everywhere you need to go. It really simplifies your vacation planning, makes everything so easy. So check it out at yourguidesabroad.com/Paris. I forgot to mention one thing about finding a good place to eat is we often find if you just step off the main road, go down maybe a quieter street, you can find places that are definitely quieter, so you don't have to wait, or maybe you can get in without a reservation, and oftentimes a little bit better. All right, we are at Le Boenvilla in the second. Great bistro if you get a chance to check it out. They have service continue. What is service continue? That means they serve food all day long. From opening to closing, you can pop in at any time and get a meal. So traditional restaurants will have meal time. So for lunch, that's from noon to like 3. And then for dinner, you're looking at from 7 until 10 or so. When we are going to a restaurant like that and we're trying to get reservations, or just popping in, we like to go at the earlier end of those meal times. So for lunch, we show up at noon. For dinner, we show up at 7 because the restaurants generally aren't as lively. People who live there aren't eating at that time. That's a little bit early. So we go in early to try and get the seats. During your meal, can you ask for tap water? Yes, you can. And the tap water in Paris is delicious. When you're going out to eat with kids, a lot of these restaurants are very kid-friendly, but they won't have a separate kids menu. Some of them do, and that's a good find. But they generally don't have a kids menu. What we've had happen for kids meals is they will sometimes offer a smaller portion for children, or they'll let our kids split a meal. So that works out really well. We tend to go for croque monsieur for them. It's a winner. You might find this confusing. They put their bread on the table when they're eating it. You won't get a bread plate. They usually just give you one basket of bread at a bistro and they don't refill it. You might notice that you have less interaction with waiters than you might expect. They're not often hopping around and asking how things are during the meal. Although if it's not busy, they may. Just know waiters are generally taking care of a lot of tables. They're very busy. If you need something, you can flag them down. And this goes for when you want the check. You can make sure you flag them down and ask for it because they won't bring it to you before you ask for it. And this gesture works. It's universal. Last one, when you're ordering wine, you can get it by the glass. There's generally a couple different sizes by the glass. You can get a half liter, you can get a bottle. So there's lots of options to enjoy wine with your meal because they love their wine.
Let's talk about bistros. First of all, where did the name bistro come from? This is probably an urban legend, but it's a good story, right? So there's Russian soldiers in Paris having a meal. They're in a hurry because there's a war going out. So they're yelling at the waitro, bistro, bistro, which means in Russian, quick, quick. The Parisians like that, and they start putting bistro on their awnings to let people know they had quick service. So that is a bistro. Now, I've come to Paris a lot, and I didn't truly think much about the difference between a cafe, a brasserie, and a bistro. Bistros, I find, are my favorite place to eat in the city because they are quick, they're really good traditional French cuisine, usually. It's good stuff, right? And they have a good selection of drinks and wine. And it's just a nice ambiance inside, usually like old wood and so darker, and it feels like you're in someone's home. This one is not like that, but it's a really cool design. I love the inside of this bistro, but that's what bistros are. Now brasseries mean to brew your own beer. They originally started as places that brewed their own beer. Now, of course, brasseries don't do that anymore. Some are starting to brew their beer again, but brasserie, it's kind of like a cafe. It's kind of a place where you sit outside. You also get drinks and food there too. Usually not as fancy as a restaurant, but I take that back, they can be. You know, in Paris, you can find anything. I heard there's like thousands of restaurants here, of cafes and brasseries and bistros and restaurants. So to be honest, just find something that looks good to you and plop in. Actually, don't plop in, take Erica's advice, and just relax, enjoy a good meal. You're definitely gonna have a good meal in Paris.
Now that you've finished your meal, what about tipping? This can be very confusing when you're first figuring out how to dine out in France. So you'll see your bill, it has a service charge added. Now that service charge doesn't always go to the wait staff. That's just something for the restaurants. Waiters make a living wage here in France, which is great, but tips are appreciated. So if you have had table service, you've had a great meal and you want to leave a little something extra, you can leave 5-10% tip on the table. Sometimes it'll ask you at the card terminal, but a lot of times it'll just be cash left on the table. And this isn't required or, kind of expected. It's just something nice to do. Overall, don't overthink this. Dining out in Paris is such a treat. There are so many wonderful restaurants. I think you're going to have a great time. I wanted to make this super simple guide because I overthought this the first time that we came to Paris, and I don't think you need to.